Three top tips to selling your letting and estate agency. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Lucy Noonan, who's the boss lady of Atomic Consultancy, an agency that helps sell estate and letting agents. Lucy, what are the three top tips of selling a letting and estate agency? Talk to me.
Yeah. So, do you know what? This is a really good question because we get a lot of businesses that have been very successful for, 30 years. And then between our busiest time of the year is September and January. And that's because families go away, away on annual leave, and the family says, it's time for you to go. You're either unhappy, you need to retire, you want to do something different. And a lot of the time they'll come to us and they've not done any preparation whatsoever before going to market. So, you are estate agents, you'll go into people's properties and you will say to them on a daily basis, your house is worth 300,000 now, but if you did X, Y, and Z, it could be 350, or dress the property in this way. And it's exactly the same, really, in your business. And so the businesses that we've really seen record sales being achieved is when a business owner is working on the business rather than in it. And the reason for that is buyers are looking for a residual business, and that's why lettings is valued more, because of the residual income that comes from management. They don't like estate agency because it goes up and down. And it's not necessarily the buyers, it's the funders. And we've had equity funding going into our marketplace massively in the last 4 years. You've got the likes of LRG, Lomond, Ameria, and others. And so that's why it's not just the buyers, it's the funders that are looking at that guaranteed residual income. But if you've got a business owner that the business known is called Noonan Estate Agents, and Lucy Noonan does everything. She does the valuing, all the admin, puts everything together. She does the property management, she does all of the accounts.
I tell you what, she's spinning lots of plates there, isn't she?
Yeah, doing loads. But again, from a buyer's perspective, it's not necessarily that you won't be able to sell the business, but you might need to stay in the business for 6 months. But if you've got a good team around you, that you've actually kind of worked out what you've got specific roles for people. And don't get me wrong, look, I'm a small business. There's 6 members of staff now in my team, but I've learned the hard way that if you've got a single point of failure in your business and that person goes, then you really have to jump back in and struggle. So it's very difficult as a small business to not be the single point of failure. So I'm not saying that everybody can achieve that, but even if you are the single point of failure, making sure that you've got robust systems. So you might be able to understand it, but would a buyer be able to understand it? So, we were working with a business just a few weeks ago, and they've got 3 CRM systems, because one likes the property management of one side, she likes the sales of another, it's a he, and he likes client accounting for another. I was like, regardless of what you like, that's a massive cost, so that's affecting the profitability of the business. But also, it's very difficult then for a buyer to be able to onboard that on. So you need to see your business through the eyes of another buyer. But the main thing that I bang out on about, and I'd say 70% of businesses, estate agency and lettings businesses, get this wrong. And if you can get this right, you will achieve more for your business. And I guarantee that is your figures. So we see so many businesses that have an accountant that only does their statutory accounts once a year, and it'll just say turnover of 700,000. But what we need to see is the breakdown of that turnover. What is estate agency? What is management income? What is rent collect? What is let only? What is ancillary? And then all of your costs associated. So if it says marketing, what is underneath that marketing line? So, is it your, portal costs? Is it your, are you doing Google ads? All of those kind of things, because whilst brokers like myself will value what's based on a turnover multiplier, a buyer is looking at it from what profitability they can get out of the business. And the two roughly should be similar once it gets to that. But if you've got really good, robust financials, and we can evidence that, yes, you're turning over 500,000 every year on management commission, and we can see that from not only your P&L and your statutory accounts, but also from your CRM system, it's a lot easier then for a buyer to be able to see that, and it's much more more robust.
Are you telling me that some people come to market almost with the numbers written on the back of a fag packet?
Yeah, I'd say at least 20% of the information that we receive on the first date is handwritten on one of our forms, and there's no figures or anything to back that up.
Right. So far we've said the big one is working on the business as opposed to in the business, which means that it almost runs without you, almost.
Yeah.
Yep. And the second thing is know your numbers.
Yeah. And then I'd say, lastly, as well, is before you go to market, and we can refer you in, we're certainly not tax experts, but getting good tax advice is critical. So we've had businesses not be able to complete on the sale because they've got a massive director's loan, for example, sat on the balance sheet, and they weren't really aware of what they were doing. They've offset their corporation tax, and also there's different ways of selling your business, and that can affect the tax. And the tax changes on selling as a share sale, so selling the limited company, has changed. So it was 10% at the beginning of the year. It's gone to 14% from till now until the 6th of April next year, and then it goes to 18%. So getting good tax advice of understanding what that's going to mean to you at the end, can you organically grow for more than 8% in the next 2 years? Because if you can't, then maybe you need to look at bring your exit options forward, or then go, right, well, actually, could I set up, so many business owners don't have a pension. The SIP, that's tax-free, offsets against your corporation tax. So if you get really good financial advice before you go to market or before you're thinking of selling, we're starting to market businesses now that I've been working with for the last 3 years. And we've got no problem in doing that, and I'm sure other brokers in the industry will as well. But definitely say try and get working on the business, getting good financial accounts, and also getting some good tax advice before you go out, unless you love paying money to HMRC. But I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I think that's the big one, is getting the broker involved before you actually need to sell it.
Yeah.
You see, how many times as estate agents do we just wish they'd have rang us up 6 months ago so we could have helped them all out?
Yeah. Well, again, as well, it astounds me that estate agents sometimes will sell direct to a buyer. Because as an estate agent, when you go out to value a house, would you sell to someone that just knocked on your door without getting a proper valuation from a business broker? Or an estate agent, you just wouldn't.
Have you got some stats, without mentioning any names, that, okay, I don't know what brokers charge nowadays, but that might have cost them 50 grand, but they'd have got an extra 200 grand. Are these plausible numbers that I'm talking?
Depends in the area in the country, but I can probably say that at least 70% of the businesses that I have seen that have sold direct would have got a better deal if they've gone via a broker. And it's not just the actual,
even after the fee.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's not just about the overall asking price, it's about how that deal is structured, what earnouts, what deferred consideration, what indemnities, warranties, what solicitors you're going to use. So if you've never done it before, there's a lot to navigate. And also through, going with a broker, they will run a proper marketing campaign. They will invite offers. So then you can negotiate and broker that right deal. And we've got some sellers at the moment that have agreed a deal on a lower value than what some of the other offers were, because for them, they felt that that buyer was the right buyer for them. They were going to continue working in that business, as an example, or they felt from a team cultural perspective it was going to be better. So it's not just about, getting you that £1 million. You might say, well, actually, I'll accept 950,000 because actually the structure of that deal is better. And a broker would advise you on that.
Thank you for your time today, Lucy.
Thanks.